Alright, greetings and salutations, Dota fans. My name is Badger, and I'm here for the first official Badgers Briefings. The international one, the first TI, is remembered among Dota fans as, pretty much the worst TI in a lot of ways. It had the least number of heroes at the time, it had the least familiarity among the players. They were not necessarily that familiar with Dota 2's transition from Dota 1 yet. Not, the lowest quality of gameplay, the logistics were not great, not even all the games were casted. But I'm not here to talk about necessarily the context of TI1 within Dota. I actually am going to make another video directly involving the competition of the tournaments. But today I want to talk about the overall larger impact of TI1 on the esports ecosystem. Because arguably TI1 might be the most significant Dota tournaments on esports as a whole. And the reason for that is prize pools. Now, you have to remember, esports prize pools really have spiked in the last decade or so. The 2010s, you saw a massive spiking of esports prize pools. If you're going back to earlier esports, a lot of these larger tournaments in the 2000s were Counter-Strike events. You saw CPL, where you see anywhere from 100,000 to 200,000 to the total prize pool. 25,000 to 60,000 USD for first place. And by the way, I'm going to use USD conversions for all the prize pools. You're going to see some of the later prize pools in this video were paid out either in like Korean won or Chinese renminbi or say Swedish krona. I'm going to convert it all to USD for simplicity's sake. But back to Counter-Strike, going into the middle of the 2010s, you saw CGS was a big step in terms of the prize pools. They had a lot of non-esports money being pumped into it. You will see prize pools approaching $500,000 for Counter-Strike Source. First place would get $250,000 spread over the team. But that was a bit of a bubble. The recession ended up happening that year in 27 going into 28. And as a result, it wasn't great. The prize pools went down. So we're looking at the actual contextual contemporaries to TI1. You gotta look at 2010 and you gotta look at 2011. So for 2010, at this point, StarCraft 2 had come out. We are in the Wings of Liberty patch. GSL over in South Korea, they're running their events. $172,000 USD for total prize pool was generally what you would see, with $86,000 going to first place. MLG Dallas was the highest paying MLG event at the time. It was $404,000 over 6 games, primarily console shooters and fighting games. The largest and most prestigious game of the tournament was Halo 3. You saw $280,000 going across that game's prize pool. You saw BlizzCon 2010. That was $203,000 over 3 games, with the largest prize pool getter being World of Warcraft Arena, which had a $120,000 prize pool spread over the players. ESWC 2010 had $213,000 USD over 10 games. The largest game was Counter-Strike 1.6, where it was $73,000 for total prize pool. Dota was as an event, and I'll discuss the Dota prize pool a little bit later. Going into 2011, you saw the Intel Extreme Masters Season 5 World Championships, $143,000 over 4 different games. Again, the largest game, Counter-Strike 1.6. $80,000 going to the legendary Na'Vi lineup with Markelov and Edward and Zeus. But that's not the topic of the discussion today. Going over to StarCraft 2 again, we have more GSL events. You see often these monthly tournaments with a bit over $100,000 USD for the total prize pool. But these are really the premier games of the late 2000s, early 2010s sort of era. Going into the genre appropriate stuff, looking at Dota 1, looking at League of Legends, looking at Heroes of Near. We'll start with Dota 1. I mentioned ESWC 2010 earlier. That was $24,500 USD total prize pool, $14,000 going over to the first place winner. That was Team eHome, with Burning, King J, MMY, 357, who was later known as QQQ, and 820, who were the best team of the era. They won, I think, 10 tournaments in 2010. They were truly fantastic. Speaking of tournaments eHome won, we have SMM 2010. 32,000 total prize pool, 16,000 the first place, and another tournament eHome won was the Intel Extreme Masters Shanghai. 12,000 USD for total prize pool, 5,000 first place to eHome. Looking at things that eHome didn't win, you have the World Dota Championships of 2010. This was $30,000 total prize pool, 15,000 to first place, being the Zoe, Yafet's Nirvana China team. Going into early 2011, you saw the G League 2011 Season 1. This was 27,800 total prize pool, $23,000 to first place to the ZSMJ Chuan LGD. LGD picked up Chuan pretty recently, and he was, the really hot mid prospect from Malaysia who was tearing up the Chinese scene before he converted to position 4 in 2012 for IG, but that's, again, a different story. Looking at League Legends of Worlds that year, I believe that was June of 2011, 99,500 total prize pool, 50,000 in the first place. I believe that was Fnatic. Looking over to Heroes of Neoworth, one of the biggest tournaments of the summer was GMAX Summer. 15,700 USD, 8,600 first place, which was, again, Fnatic. And this Fnatic team is particularly relevant because this is the legendary Han Fnatic team with No Tail and Fly, who would obviously go on to have truly great careers in Dota 2. They're still, actively No Tail recently retired, 2-time Chi champion. Fly is still actively playing well over a decade later. Truly legendary Dota players, but this is well before all of that. So, we now have the context of what you would expect from the genre of games, where the Dota tournaments were not going even up to $50,000. League of Legends World not $100,000. Han, not even $20,000. Much smaller prize pools than even some of the contemporary esports games at the time. Nowhere near what you would see just a few years later. And in comes Dota 2. Announced by Valve Software, of very famous Valve Software, of Half-Life fame, of Team Fortress 2 fame. They had Portal, they had a truly splendorous reputation at the time. They brought in Ice Frog, and they were making Dota 2. This itself was a big deal, but they were launching this game more or less with the announcement of the International. They are shipping some of the best teams across the world to Germany over at Gamescom to debut Dota 2. And for that tournament, first place was $1 million. Total prize pool, $1.6 million, with the other $600,000 going to second through 8th place. And wow, that's a massive deal. Because you're looking at these prize pools, and 7 figures was not really in the realm of imagination at the time. Even 6 figures was not that common. Outside of Counter-Strike and StarCraft, you didn't see that many 6-figure prize pools at all. So for Valve to come in and say, all right, $1.6 million. It changed everything. Ultimately, the tournament went on. Wasn't that great of a TI with historical context, but at the time we were excited for it. We were so hyped up to see Navi play and eHome play and Scythe Singapore and the Moscow 5 and so on. And MYM, who were one of the great Dota 1 teams. And after TI1, you end up seeing a major spiking in prize pools across esports. A few months later, there was a Call of Duty Invitational that had $1 million prize pool. You end up seeing the Counter-Strike, the CSGO majors, Counter-Strike Global Offensive majors happen. These are, 6-figure prize pools, end up becoming even more than that later on. You see League of Legends Worlds end up becoming a 7-figure prize pool events. You see the StarCraft 2 events, they go up in prize pool as well. So because of TI1, you see this major rising in esports prize pools, which again end up being very healthy for players in the industry. They were getting much more out of placing highly in these events. And as a result, there's a very strong argument that TI1 of any Dota event that ever happened had the most impact on the larger esports ecosystem as a whole. I'll be back soon to discuss the Dota ends of TI1. the games, the context, some of the players, and just how the tournament ended up playing out. That'll be for another day, though. If you want to check out more of my stuff, I'm on YouTube. You're watching it on YouTube, probably. I have a Twitter and Twitch. They're both in the description. As always, thank you for watching, and have a great night.